This week's video is sponsored by Squarespace.
Hello everybody. I hope you're all doing great. I wanted to give you an update on what's going on with my van. It was probably about 2 months ago where I was starting to camperize my van, and since that time not an awful lot has happened. The reason being is that some of the stuff that I need to make the build has been extremely difficult to find. Like the aluminium, I ordered weeks and weeks ago, and then it finally came, and I went to pick it up, and I thought, this kind of feels a little heavy, but I brought it home and realized that they'd given me the wrong aluminium. It's the right size, but it's the regular aluminium extrude, and I ordered the ultra light. So this is very heavy, and you know what, I just thought, you know what, I just can't be bothered to go through all of that again just to order the ultra light. It just took too long to order this stuff, because I had to take a ferry, I had to go over to the mainland, pick it up, and bring it back. So it's going to be a little heavier than I had hoped, but it's certainly going to be sturdy. But before I show you the progress of what I've been doing with the aluminium, just wanted to show you what's been happening on the outside of my van. So I just closed the rear hatch here. You'll notice that we have an addition. The Tyre is now on the rear bumper on a swing arm, and I also have a swing arm on this side as well to carry some extra stuff. So the bumper itself is actually a kit that I purchased from a company in Delta. They're on the mainland, not far from Vancouver. And then once you buy the kit, you have to find a welder. So I found a welder not too far from here who reluctantly decided to do it for me. I asked him if I bought a front bumper, if he'd like to do that as well, and he kind of said no. So I think it ended up taking him longer than he thought, because the kit, even though it's made for this vehicle, there were some things about it that didn't quite fit, so he had to adjust them. He said it was like a huge puzzle. Once I got it finished at the welder, then I had to take it to another company to get it powder coated, and luckily that's just up the road too, and they did an awesome job. I decided to get kind of a gray color rather than matte black or black, just to kind of match the bottom of the van here. So the bumper itself actually goes right under the chassis. It's attached right to the body of the vehicle. Has a hidden trailer hitch here, and of course it has the two arms that come out. So this arm here, I have my spare tire on it, and you can see how rough it looks from just being underneath the vehicle for so long. This is all rusty. I probably could get this cleaned off, but I think I'm just going to buy new rims for this tire and also for the van, because the ones that I have on there I'm not that keen on, but that'll come a little bit later. So we have that there, and then on this side I was struggling a little bit to decide where I was going to put my propane tank. In the past I've just used those little green ones, which this summer have been very difficult to find, and also they end up being quite expensive. You go through them quite quickly. So I wanted to put a larger propane tank on the vehicle. The problem is, where do you put it? Inside is not a great idea. On the rear it's okay. On a roof rack it would probably be okay as well, but I didn't want to be climbing up and down, turning it on and then taking it off to refill it. So I decided to have it mounted on the back here, and you can see that I have this bracket to hold the tank, and that's attached to this other holder that'll hold jerry cans. So I just got this yesterday. This is for fuel. The reason why I got a yellow one is because it was cheaper than the red one. I don't know why. I think yellow is for diesel actually, but this is a gasoline truck, but I don't mind the color. And then here I will have a water tank or a water jerry can. There is a company in the UK that sells jerry cans that are this size, and they actually have a filter in, so you can use them anywhere. You could fill up at a stream side or wherever, and it has a filter right inside, so it'll filter that water out for you. Unfortunately, they're quite expensive. I think they're about $400, so I'm gonna have to save my pennies for that one. So that's the rack, and of course it has these really great latches on the bottom, so it's securely fastened, and they're quite hard to push up, but once they're solid. And this one here, this also has a big latch, but also has a safety catch at the back there. So with the safety latch on, it can't accidentally come undone if you forget to do up the latch. And there's also, I got the guy to put on another little extra piece here, because this one doesn't have a safety latch. So there's a little bit of a bracket just to hold this one in with that safety latch. So overall, I'm really happy with how the bumper turned out. It is a very expensive product. The main reason really was to have it so that I didn't have the tire underneath, the spare tire. And I will be making a cover for the propane tank, and I'll probably make a cover for the tire as well, because my understanding is if you have a tire that's out in the sunshine all the time, it could eventually damage the tire. Something that I forgot to mention, the propane tank is actually fiberglass. And I did a little bit of research about propane tanks, and from my understanding, propane tanks made out of fiberglass have a less tendency to explode if they have any kind of impact. Whether that's true or not, I don't know. But because I have it on the rear of the vehicle, I thought that a fiberglass propane tank would perhaps be a little safer than a metal one. Anyway, I'm just going by what I read on the internet. I believe everything that I read on the internet. So that's the bumper. I'm really happy with it. As far as price goes, you don't want to know the price. It was really expensive, and if I had known or worked out the price beforehand, then I probably would have ummed and ahed and perhaps not got the bumper, because it was very expensive, but I think it looks cool. All right, let's have a look inside. As far as the sliding bed goes, it's going really well. It's almost the exact same design as my original one that was made out of wood. So as some of you may or may not know, most of my trips I do on my own, but now and then my partner Karen comes with me, and of course then we need a place for the two of us to sleep. So I needed to kind of come up with an idea so that we were able to do that. And I came up with this sliding bed idea, and I think it's going to work. So the way that it works is that this bit here is part of the bed that lies flat. Now, right now, I'm waiting for some different types of bolts so that this can lie flat. But I've just put these button head bolts in there for now, just to see if it actually works. Ideally, if it lies flat, then if I put any pressure on that, it's not going to break the hinges. So that will act as a backrest when it's just in a single bed mode, which I can sleep on like this, or I could pull it out as well, because it's not a huge deal to do so. And the way it works is you just pull on these two latches here, and this will slide out like so, and then that folds in like that. And It's quite a narrow bed, so it's going to be quite cozy, but it is with Karen, so I'm sure we'll manage. The reason why it only comes out to here is because I have the cabinets that are kind of going to be along the side here. And all I have to do is fasten the back on each side, and that should be enough to stop any weight put on here flipping up the other side. But I think it's going to work really well. Now, the only issue with it is that it might be a little bit awkward to put back together, because where I'm standing right now, there are going to be cabinets here, so I'm going to have to do all of this from over here, and reaching over to this latch might be a bit of a problem. Also lifting the back. So maybe there's some kind of way that I could put a strap on there or something, just so I could grab it and pull it. So this comes up, and you can just slide that down, and then of course you're able to just slide that back in like so. And the other nice thing about this is that you're able to access the storage compartment. Now, there isn't a huge amount of room, but you could definitely fit a pack in that side and perhaps some other bits and pieces. Of course, this one has the wheel well, so that, you know, the storage space is somewhat limited, but it's nice because, you know, if this is lying flat, you can just slide this out and you can access the storage space. So yeah, I think it's going to work really well. Now, it has taken me quite a bit of time to put together because of the types of fasteners that I used, and I'll show you those right now and some of the problems that I've come across. As far as the fasteners go, putting together 80/20 aluminium, there are lots of different options. I decided to go with just 2 or 3 different options. The first one being these little right angle aluminium sliders. And the way that the slider works, it has 2 little Allen nuts on either side. So you'll take one piece of your aluminium and it slides into the groove there, and then the other side, or the other piece, slides into like that. So you can slide it anywhere you want along the project, and then once you've found where you want it, then you just tighten up the little nuts with an Allen key. It works really well. The only problem with these is that they're very expensive. These are $7 each. So you can imagine if you use them throughout your whole project, especially one like this where you have a lot of joints, it can get very expensive. The option that I'm using for much of this project, but it is a bit of a pain in the butt, is where I'm using a bolt and these little end clips here. And the way that these work is that you'll notice that in the aluminium there's a hole that goes right through the extrude. And what you have to do is tap that out. So you put a thread into that, so that takes a little bit of time. And then once you have a thread in there, you can actually take one of these bolts and just screw it right into the end. And you screw it on with one of these clips. So that clip goes right into the end of the bolt. And you can just imagine that, say the bolt is done up tight or reasonably tight, then you have this clip here. And once you have that clip in there, then you can slide your other piece of aluminium into that. You'll notice though that there's a problem and you have no way of tightening up that bolt. So what you have to do beforehand is you have to know exactly where your joint's going to be, and you drill a hole through the extrude, and then you get your Allen key and you do up the bolt that way. The nice thing about this is that it's really well hidden. You don't even know that the joint is there, and it's extremely solid. I think it might be more solid than the little right angle ones that cost $7. But of course, if you screw up in drilling your hole, and you don't drill it in the right place, then you can't do it up and you run into all sorts of problems. So it takes quite a bit more time. It's a bit of a pain to do, but in the long run, I think it'll be more solid. A lot of people don't know this about me, but before I got into photography, I actually made climbing equipment, and not just slings and runners and stuff like that, but I also made clothing. And for a while there, for a couple of years, I worked for a company called Mac & Sails, where I made sail covers, custom harnesses for sailors, made all kinds of stuff. So I had a couple of industrial sewing machines. I even had my own bar tacker. Now, all of that equipment is long gone, so I just have a home sewing machine. But I do still do my own sewing now and then, although I'm a little bit out of practice. So what I'm going to do here is I've bought some bright orange fabric. And the reason why I bought orange is so that you can see it, it's visible. I'm going to make a cover for this propane tank. So I just got to kind of figure out how I'm going to do this. I think what I'm going to do is just have it as a sleeve, and then maybe have some kind of cinch point at the bottom so you can cinch it together, perhaps even a lock. Well, that was a bit of luck. So I found this balance board that we use for exercise, and it just happens to be exactly the same diameter as the top of that. So perfect. So we just draw around that. That's going to be the top. And then just going to make a side. As you can see, it's very bright, but that's the way I wanted it. And then for the wheel cover, I'm just making out of a black. Oh, actually, it's a dark grey, 18% grey, actually. Right.
Once again, I'd like to thank Squarespace for supporting my channel and sponsoring this week's video. One of my favorite features of a Squarespace website is the ability to quickly and efficiently update a gallery or page either from a desktop computer or while on the fly using the Squarespace app from my mobile device. Loading multiple images onto a page is quick and offers the ability to change a design or page quickly and elegantly without any coding knowledge. Want to sell your products? No problem. Setting up shop is also quick and intuitive. Sound interesting? Why not head over to squarespace.com and try it for free? And if you like what you find, use the code AdamGibbs for 10% off your first purchase.
Wow, it was a scorcher today. Right, I finished the cover, and I also made a cover for the Tyre here. So this one, I changed it around a little bit after I'd kind of filmed the initial part of it. I've got at the bottom here, I've got an adjustable bungee cord that latches onto this metal piece here. And the way that this works is it just has the elastic at the bottom there. But what I did was I added this piece on here because it just kind of ended. And I mean, the water's going to get down there anyway in the dirt, but this is just to give it a little bit more protection. So it comes across and then down to this section here. So that worked out really well. And then the Tyre cover, it's pretty tight, but that's okay. On the rear of it, I haven't quite finished it, but I'll just put some elastic in here. I mean, it's gonna stay on its own anyway, but I'll put some elastic in here just so it has a nice tight fit around the back here. So yeah, it turned out pretty good. And I think what I might do is I might paint my my logo on here. Maybe paint this one on there. I don't know. I might paint it on. If I paint it on there, then the problem is it will make my van even more recognizable, which is not really what I want. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy. I finished that off, and now I think I'm going to try and take some photographs.
Well, I did manage to knock off a couple of shots, and actually the subject matter was right next to the front door. We have some Rudbeckia flowering in a container there, and they've been flowering for about 2 weeks now, and I kept meaning to take some photographs of them. So I pulled out the old Nikon D850 70-200mm lens and took a couple of shots before the light was gone. Thanks ever so much once again, everybody, for watching this week's video. If you would like to show some support, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. Until next week, bye for now. For those of you that would like to support my channel in other ways, be sure to head on over to kozubooks.com, where I have my third printing of Quiet Light for sale, and also Aspen, a collection of autumn images from 2020 in a small body of work called a zine. Go check it out at kozubooks.com.